family of Egyptian national Mohamed Soliman have been taken into ICE custody and risk a quick deportation, according to officials. Now, Soliman has been charged with murder after throwing gasoline bombs at pro-Israel demonstrators in Boulder, Colorado earlier this week. DHS Secretary Kristi Noem posted a video about it on social media. Let's watch.
Mohamed's despicable actions will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. But we're also investigating to what extent his family knew about this horrific attack, if they had any knowledge of it, or if they provided support to it. Justice will be served.
Officials say Soliman overstayed a tourist visa and expired work permit. His wife and 5 children will be transferred to a Texas immigration facility as they await their proceedings.
The White House posted about the news, writing 6 one-way tickets for Mohamed's wife and 5 kids. Final boarding call coming soon. Georgia GOP Representative Mike Collins replied to that post saying, "Keeping families together." Political commentator Johan Kardici writes, "You're taking them into custody because they might or might not have known about it. Don't you need a legal reason to take them into custody first?" And attorney Tracy Gallagher said ICE didn't do so well, did they? They were too busy chasing high school volleyball kids. Not sure about that. I mean, seems obvious to me that they should be taken into custody and questioned by authorities. They will be. I mean, it's just the reality that if you are here in the country illegally and your close family member commits a horrific act of violent terrorism, you will be deported. I mean, that's just like what is going to happen. I would say they should not be deported too quickly because we need to get to the bottom of this. If they had some knowledge of what he was planning to do, my understanding from reading the reporting is that he was planning this attack for a long period of time.
Right.
So were there signs that they should have spoken up about? Or maybe they did if they spoke up and those signs were ignored by law enforcement, as often happens in cases of a mass killing or shooting or bombing or something. There were warning signs where people did speak up. We always say, why don't people, be good citizens, be good neighbors? And then it turns out, oh, actually they did contact the officials. The officials just didn't follow up on it. So I want to get to the bottom of exactly what happened. If they had knowledge and they didn't turn over that information, or if they were involved, well, then not only should then a deportation might not even be the right option. It should be prison or prosecution. But once the investigation is satisfied, I have no doubt that they will and should be, deported. If they have absolutely nothing to do with it and had no knowledge of it whatsoever and, have committed no other crime or anything, I guess that's a little unfortunate for them that they're going to be deported probably. It's not, if it is really not their fault in any way, shape, or form, which could be the case, then that kind of sucks, but is kind of reality. I don't know what else to say.
Yeah, no, I think everyone's on the same page. This is an evil, outrageous act, and the sympathy for all the families involved. They should absolutely be questioned. That's like a normal standard procedure. Yeah. But we should not absolutely assume that they're automatically guilty by association.
Sure, of course
so
not.
I know that a lot of the comments underneath that White House tweet, or however they sent it out, was very much like, get them out right now. 6 one-way tickets tonight. And I think we need to.
Now, hold on, we got to understand what happened here. Right.
No, I know people are riled up, but I think that, we shouldn't politicize this. We should actually try to find out what stemmed from all this. Like, instead of kicking them out immediately, perhaps there's a motion that we would spend time understanding, like, what the motivation behind this behavior was.
I think we understand the motivation pretty well.
I think
he hates
for the whole
Israel,
family, right?
He hates Jews.
Right. He literally should go to jail and go through due process and everything. But for the family to really understand what happened there, how could they be so disconnected to watch this happen? Was he in the community? I know he had a work permit, so he was working up until I think mid-year last year, and so he was around a lot of people. Did anybody want to report this frustration? Like, there are things that we do in our process to get to justice rather than just throwing everybody out of here, because then also we have no control of what happens next. And some people might like to see actual justice if the family was involved, or if he was a sole actor by himself who just planned this egregious act. I think that there is a process for a reason, and we should try to follow it, even though it sounds good and politicizing it sounds good to just get them out of here immediately. The family may actually give valuable information to try to, make sure we understand this case in full.
No, I agree with you completely. I feel almost that some people are trying to turn this into an illegal immigration thing when it is more of a Islamic extremism, national security thing. These are not totally mutually exclusive. We should do better vetting, and we should be deporting people who present some danger, certainly to the people around them, or not having them come here in the first place. He overstayed, what is the process for getting a tourist visa and getting a work permit? Is there any kind of vetting or monitoring done? Were there red flags with this individual who has such a visceral hatred of Jewish people or Israeli people that he threw homemade explosive fire weapons at older people, causing horrific burns? Were there warning signs that should have been followed? Those are all very valid questions that we should explore, and we don't want to preclude any avenues into that investigation by having immediate deportations. But to the tweet person I read, well, how can they? Why are they being taken into custody? Well, if they're not American citizens, they can be taken into custody and they can be deported. You don't have due process rights, the exact same due process rights. You have some due process because we want to make sure we're not deporting American citizens. We want to make sure we understand charges against you, but the actual deportation act is not. You have ironclad due process against, even if you're a non-citizen, against being prosecuted. It's different from just being removed from the country. That's kind of what we're working out with these immigration-related questions. The government can remove people from the country who are in the country illegally if it wants to.
With tragedies like this also, there are real victims involved and real people that are dealing with trauma and suffering after an incident as horrific as this. And I think that it minimizes it tremendously to try to point to what we've been seeing, Biden or something else, and make it an immigration issue when there's so much conversation around what we can all do better to make sure that, somebody who came here with a work visa or, overstaying your visa is different than crossing the border and conflating the conversation. And I think now, while we should have that conversation in Congress and get real laws passed that maybe prevents this from happening in the future, we shouldn't try to figure out where to point the finger. We should just come together in unison and in unity as a country and say, this is wrong, and this person will be brought to justice to the full extent of our law.
Yeah. Next up, Taco Tuesday disaster. The Democrats' cringe dig at Trump. That's coming up next.